Hey, Dr. Brian Kinslow out of All Flagstaff. So we got some new equipment in the gym that we are psyched about. They are called Ski Ergs, and so they're an incredible piece made by Concept 2. They're very similar to a rower, except we're in a standing position. It's going to give you a great cardiovascular workout, but it's a little more upper body driven, which is pretty unique for some type of piece of cardio equipment. So we're going to break this down a little bit. We're probably going to have a series of videos on this, but just want to give you the basics so you can start jumping on the Ski Erg and start feeling good, explore it, and getting your heart rate up with it. So just a couple basics about the machine, and then I'm going to show you some basics of technique. So we pull from the handles here, these green handles, and I'm on the platform. I'm about 5'8". I typically stand with my heels there. If you're a little shorter than 5'8", you might sneak up. If you're a little taller, I've seen people even kind of hang their heels off, but typically we want to be nice and squared up, and the handles we're going to pull down like that. I'm going to break down the technique in a second, but we drive with the green handles. It's fan powered, the resistance. We're going to talk about that in a second and how that affects the technique, but you'll start to hear the fan spinning. This is the monitor. We can do units in meters or calories, or watts. So most often here we do meters or calories. They're not really calories that you would eat. We have a whole lot of reasons we don't want to do that from a diet culture perspective, but calories are just a unit of work that are consistent. So we can flip those around. There's some games you can play on here, but typically we can just start skiing and it'll track our meters. And so you can kind of look at some different things here. A standard unit of distance is about 500 meters, same as on the rower. This is the damper, and so this is kind of like resistance, but because this is a fan, it's a little different. I think of it more like gears on a bike. So at 10, it's going to be hard to get going, but once you get going, you got a lot of momentum. You're going to get maybe a little more meters per pull, but you want to keep it going because if you stop, it's going to be hard to start again. If we go all the way down to 1, that's like granny gear on a bike. It's going to be pretty easy to get it going, but each pull won't get you quite as far. And so for most people, we start somewhere in the middle. For my height, my size, typically I'm around a 7 or 8. For somebody who's a little shorter than me, we might go a little bit lower. And then depending on the workout, I might go up or down. And so if I got a really long set, I'm kind of hanging out here for a while, I might go a little lower so I can get into a little more kind of cardiovascular rhythm. If I'm just going for power, I want a couple quick powerful pulls, I might set it up to 10. I know I got to work to get it moving, but I don't have to stay there for too long. So you can play around with the damper there. Now, a little bit on technique. The key here is that we want to hinge from the hips. I'm going to talk about the arms in a second. A lot of times people get on there, they know they're using their arms, they just start kind of pulling like crazy, and they don't get very far. So we want to think about our hip hinge. So we teach hip hinging here a lot at Evolve. And so with my feet here, my finish position is going to look a lot like my kettlebell swing position, except my hands are going to be here. And so if you've done a kettlebell swing or a deadlift or a clean or anything where we're hinging at the hips, that's where we want to finish. So I got a flat back, I'm not rounded here, a little bend in my knees, but I'm not in a squat, my hips are coming back. It can feel a little awkward, but it's kind of like I'm sticking my butt out as I come back. So that's our hip hinge. So it's kind of the reverse of a kettlebell swing. Kettlebell swing, I'm driving it up. Here, I'm pulling it down into that same position. So before you get on there, you might just practice without any weight. Imagine you're kettlebell swinging, and now you're actually going to pull down. Okay? As we pull down, that creates some tension through the back. So this actually lights up the anterior core because I need to be braced here so that way I can come down with a flat back. If I don't do that, and I just come down, I'm going to come into extension. That's not going to feel great. I got to anchor my rib cage towards my belt line and pull down with a flat back. So you should feel, even as you're breathing, that you're maintaining some core contraction there. Okay? So that's the core and the hips. Now what are we doing with the arms? Well, we want to get a nice efficient pull of the arms, and we want to get a nice long stroke. So if I just pull right in here, I'm not getting a lot of bang for my buck as I go down. So I think of starting straight. My arms are going to bend a little bit as they come under resistance, and then I want to snap my arms to finish. So I'm finishing straight and I'm starting straight. So that's kind of my deal. So I'm going to be here. I'm going to lead with my hips, my arms are going to follow and then finish with the arms. So I should initiate with hips back. If I initiate with the arms, once I'm here, and you can try this at home even without a ski erg, if I'm here, it's actually kind of hard to lead with my hips. I get kind of stuck, and then I want to round through the back. So hips move first, and then I fire with the arms. Okay, so let's take a look how it goes. I'm going to set this damper at about 6 or 7, so I don't get too winded on camera here. I'm going to grab these with my thumbs up. This is going to kind of sit on the base of my palm. I also don't want to have shoulders up by my ears. I want to kind of lock my shoulder blades down so I have good shoulder stability. I'm going to get a little core position. So I think of pinky to my belt line, top of my thumb to my xiphoid process to the bottom of my rib cage. I want to keep that relationship consistent. I don't want to be here, and I don't want to be there. Here is where you might find yourself on the ski erg if you're getting tired. Now I'm going to get my feet set, feet straight. I'm going to lead with my hips first, straight arms. I'm going to come into a bend and then snap to finish. And I really want to try to exaggerate, coming to almost perpendicular to the ground so I can really get the most out of this pull. Straight arms and to snap. Okay, and then there's a few different ways to come back. I typically like to just come right back up in a straight line. It seems to be the most efficient to me. One final point for this video, you can feel or hear that fan start humming. And so I actually don't want to pull too fast. It's kind of like gears on a bike. If you start pedaling too fast, you start to kind of miss the resistance on the bike chain. And it's the same thing with this fan. So if you listen, I can kind of get this fan humming. And you'll notice I get a little pause, and I'm not in a hurry as I come back up. I want to time coming back up here and my next pull right as that fan starts to slow down. I don't want it to slow too much, but if I just pull really quick, each pull is not going to have that much force behind it. So you can see if I get ahead of myself, I'm not kind of doing a whole lot here. So I want to just, nice strong pull, reset. So we kind of get a nice strong pull, and then we reset. So our strokes per minute are maybe a little lower than you might start. Might be a little different if you have an all-out sprint. That's when you want to get the damper such that pulling really fast, you can actually keep resistance on it the whole time. So anyway, play around the ski erg. They're incredibly tough. They're a lot of fun. You see I'm out of breath. We're going to be breaking them down a little bit more, but those are some basics to get you going.